Hello YouTube, this is NPD News. I'm T, and today we're going to have a discussion about how the movie Coraline relates to narcissism. If you have not already seen this movie, I would advise that you go watch it before you continue listening to this. If you have seen it, I would say to continue watching this video so that you can get understanding on how Coraline relates to narcissism. I'm going to go through a brief run through of Coraline for those of you who have not seen it and just decide that you want to keep listening, or for those of you who have seen it but need to understand the specifics on what exactly it is that Coraline basically displays some imagery of narcissism. So Coraline is raised by two parents that are currently working on a garden catalog and have no time for Coraline. So Coraline goes and seeks adventure elsewhere. She meets Wybie, who has a cat that follows him everywhere, he gives her a doll. And the doll looks just like her, and she takes this doll everywhere she goes and continues to have her adventure. And she stumbles upon a door into a whole world that is the same as Coraline's reality, but better. And as her parents are always gone and or busy, she spends more time in the other world. The more time she spends there, the more she falls in love with this world. And her mother, the other mother, offers to let her stay there forever if she sews buttons in her eyes. And Coraline refuses to allow her mother to do so, and the mother grows angry with the constant rejection to her persistent requests. And Coraline wants the mother to let her go and be with her real family, but the other mother punishes Coraline for not giving her what she wants. And Coraline ends up meeting 3 ghost children that warn her about the other mother and tell about their experience that they had. And Coraline learns to fight back by playing this game with her, and finally leaves, locking the door. The other mother's hand ended up being caught, and was able to try and get a hold of Coraline again, and then Wybie ends up helping her, and they destroy the key together for good. So now I'm going to start from the beginning, identifying the different relations to narcissism. So Coraline, like I said, was raised by 2 parents that are working on a garden catalog, and they have no time for Coraline. So this is where the problem starts. I think this has to do with your environment and your childhood, where your parents, your primary caregivers, didn't give you something that you needed, which ended up attracting you to certain people that end up exploiting those things, possibly exploiting those things. So she was not given the attention that she needed. They had no time for her, and so she ended up finding a place where they gave her time and attention, which was through that door into the other world. She had that doll, and that doll was basically watching her whole entire life. Now, this is what narcissists do. So in the beginning stages, they will constantly calculate the different things you do and say to see how far that they can get with you, to see if that they can cross your boundaries, to see if you're weak, to see if you are easily manipulated and deluded, so that they can continue on with their abuse. So this narcissist was checking out, based through the doll, was watching her in her reality, was checking out all the things that were wrong in her life, so that when she came over to the other world, she can make the things that were wrong and turn them right, and make Coraline feel the feelings that she never had received in her childhood or in her environment, but from her primary caregivers. And this is what narcissists do. So that doll was the calculation from the beginning stages. And after Coraline crosses in to other world, and she spends some time there, and she falls in love with this world. This is basically like the love bombing stage, where everything seems perfect. She gets everything that she needs as far as validation and attention, and someone at least is feeling like someone understands her and has time for her. And so that's phase 1, the love bombing phase. After that, Coraline clearly lets her guard down, and she does accept the mother's offer that she will live there forever, but the mother will needs her to do something before she can allow her to stay there forever. And what the other mother wants her to do is sew buttons into her eyes. Now Coraline doesn't want buttons to be sewn into her eyes, and so she refuses constantly, and the mother constantly is persistent in having her sew buttons into her eyes and living there forever. And narcissists do not like hearing no, and they don't like when you don't do things that they want you to do. And so that's when they will start to get angry. And so that's what the mother was doing. She was starting to get angry at Coraline's persistent, constant rejection to the persistent request from a mother to sew the buttons in her eyes and stay with her. And so that would be the discard phase. This is the part where she starts to, or no, that's not the discard phase. That's the devaluing stage. So this is the part where she starts to devalue her, and Coraline wants the mother to let her go to be with her real family. And so the other mother is pretty much tired of this, and she punishes Coraline for not giving her what she wants. And this is what narcissists do. When you don't do what they want you to do, they want to punish you. They want to put people against you. They want to talk bad about you. They want to try and hurt you and make you feel the way that they feel inside. So they'll project their feelings onto you. And so she throws Coraline through the mirror, through the glass, and Coraline is in this little, in this room, this dark room where it has three souls. The three ghost children, and these ghost children basically were victims of this narcissistic mother. And this mother basically does not want she doesn't want Coraline to leave because she wants to take Coraline's soul. This is what narcissists do. They want to take parts of you that they like and admire for themselves, because they don't know who they are. They don't really have a sense of, they basically just they're out of touch with who they are. So that they try to get people that they can try and take things out of them to place into themselves, but you can't do that. It's basically impossible. It's something that comes from within. You can't pull something out of somebody and bring it for yourself by putting somebody down. And that's what they try to do. And so these ghost children are the victims, and their souls were taken. And so Coraline, these three ghost children are telling Coraline how this narcissist is, so that she can fight back. YB ends up taking her out of the glass, and Coraline ends up leaving the world, and she thinks about what she has to do to save her parents, because the other mother took Coraline's parents. So as Coraline is thinking and planning a way to save her parents, she learns that the other mother is constantly playing games or likes games. So the only way to win is to beat her at her own game. And yes, narcissists are always playing games. Everything is a game to them. And so Coraline ends up basically cheating the other mother in the game, and she leaves. Coraline leaves, and now this is where the discard comes. Coraline leaves, and the other mother's hand ends up getting caught. And so my interpretation of the hand getting caught was there was still a little bit of contact in there. So during the discard phase, you want to have absolutely no contact with narcissists after you realize who they are. You don't want to talk to them again, because it'll continue further the abuse that they are, the emotional and psychological abuse that they're giving you. So this little hand that's sticking out, it's still damaging to Coraline. She could still reach her. She could still get to her. So basically, YB ends up saving Coraline as Coraline is trying to throw the key into the well so that she doesn't go back into the other world, or nobody else goes back into the other world and become victims. And the other mother basically grabs the key, and then they have their little fight, and YB breaks the hand and throws the key down the well and gets rid of it for good. So the ending part of this, basically, when you are going through the discard phase, you don't want to have any tiny little bit of contact with them at all, because it is still damaging for you. You want to have complete no contact with them. And so Coraline beat her at her own game by tricking her, leaving, and never ever talking to her again. And as Coraline leaves, the other mother says, "Don't leave me, I'll die without you." And that's literally how narcissists feel. They have abandonment issues, and they fear abandonment like crazy. And it literally feels like they're dying when people leave them and people don't want to talk to them. That's why a lot of times they're usually at high risk of suicide when they don't have that narcissistic supply, or when they're away from people and there's nobody there to support them and to love them and to see them as good, because everybody sees the narcissist for their lies, manipulation, and their games. And so once that happens, usually the narcissist will go into a downward spiral, and they will end up, sometimes they'll end up committing suicide and self-destruct. So that is all I have currently for now as far as the interpretation of Coraline. I will have more videos, because there are other little tiny details within that video that does tell you more about a narcissist. Go ahead and like, share, comment, subscribe. You can email me at healipsych695@gmail.com to share your story. It is HEALIPSYCH695@gmail.com. I'm T. This is NPD News.